Chapter 3: Surviving Away from Home. Surviving a disaster away from home is a lot more challenging than surviving one when you are at home. The biggest problem is that you don't have any of your standard equipment or supplies. On top of that, you don't have the house itself, namely the shelter it provides. That doesn't mean you should just give up and die, though. It merely means that you are faced with greater challenges to overcome. The biggest challenge, besides surviving, is to make your way home. Unless your home has been destroyed or taken over by an angry mob, you're always better off at home than anywhere else. So, whatever you do to survive, your decision-making should ultimately be driven by the goal of getting you back home. Just like preparation makes surviving at home easier, it also makes surviving away from home easier. Having a survival kit with you is the first step towards successfully surviving while away from home. In addition to the survival kit, you need to learn some survival skills. Making a shelter in the wild, finding water, and gathering food are essential skills for staying alive outdoors. The more knowledge you have about survival in the wild, the easier it will be to find solutions to every challenge. At the same time, your survival skills will affect your survival kit. A person who doesn't know how to trap a small game doesn't need to have materials to create a snare. Every item in the survival kit needs to be something you know how to leverage to your advantage and have practiced using, otherwise, it's a waste of space and weight. The survival kit also needs to be customized to your specific survival circumstances. More importantly, it needs to be customized to the type of terrain and climate you will most likely deal with. If you might be crossing a very arid area, like a desert, you may have to use a solar still to extract water from plants you encounter. However, you won't need that if you travel to an area with many streams and ponds. Survival kits come in all sizes. There is no such thing as a standard survival kit. Through the years, I've seen many different survival kits. Each one had what the owner thought they would need to survive, but no two had the same contents. Of course, there were many things in common, but there were also unique items found in one kit that were missing from others. Even the container used for creating your survival kit can vary extensively. One of the best survival kit containers I've ever seen was an empty coffee can. It provided a waterproof container to hold the supplies and could also be used for cooking or boiling water. However, even that was a poor choice, as a coffee can is harder to carry than something that hangs on your belt. You can use anything as a container for making a survival kit. There are two main types, a basic kit and what is often referred to as a 72-hour bag. The basic kit is small and easy to keep with you, while the 72-hour bag is usually a backpack stuffed with goods. The name comes from the fact that they contain 3 days' worth of food. These larger kits are also known as bug-out bags and get-home bags. Regardless of the name, they perform the same function, giving you what you need to survive for a few days. Both kits have their place. While having more with you can do your job of surviving much easier and much more comfortably, it isn't always practical to carry a backpack around. That's when you need the smaller survival kit. It's also useful to keep a small survival kit in the trunk of your car just in case you break down in the middle of nowhere. The basic survival kit. I have built several basic survival kits through the years, each one unique. What I am using now is an 18 centimeters tall pouch that hangs on my belt and holds enough equipment for me to survive several days in the wild. Like the home survival kit, a personal survival kit has to contain everything necessary to provide heating, water, food, and shelter. In addition, a portable survival kit needs to contain means of signaling for help, which isn't needed at home. Granted, there's not much room in a small pouch to carry water and food, but there is enough room to carry the means of purifying water and catching food. What it takes to survive makes for a rather long list of items that need to be contained in such a small package. But making the package any bigger may mean it's impractical to carry around at all times. There is always a trade-off between the size of the kit and the thoroughness of the contents. At a minimum, a personal survival kit should contain the following. Fire starters. Since fire is a basic ingredient for survival, always start with that. Most survival instructors will tell you that you need 2 primary and 2 secondary means of starting a fire. A primary means of starting a fire is something easy to use, such as matches or a lighter. A secondary means of starting a fire takes more practice and skill, however, it is dependable with practice. In contrast, 4 different means of starting a fire could be excessive, including 2 at a minimum. In addition to the means to start the fire, it's also good to have something to act as fuel, preferably something that will work no matter what the weather conditions. The petroleum jelly-soaked cotton balls mentioned earlier are ideal for this. Another good one is dryer lint that has been soaked with paraffin. Water purification. Since water can't be carried as part of the kit, a means of purifying water must be. There are many ways of going about this, including straw-type water purifiers, water purification tablets, and boiling water. Since clean water is such an important part of survival, at least 2 means of water purification should be carried out at all times. In addition to being able to purify water, you'll need some way of carrying water with you. The coffee can survival kit I mentioned earlier provides a means of doing this if everything else is taken out of the coffee can. Other common containers for carrying water that is found in survival kits are plastic zipper bags and condoms. Means of capturing food. Since a portable survival kit may not have enough room to carry food, you should carry some way of capturing food. Besides a hunting rifle or bow, fishing and using snares to capture small animals are the 2 best ways of catching food. A survival fishing kit doesn't need much to be effective. A couple of fish hooks, some line, a bobber, and some split-shot weights provide enough to catch some fish. While this may not be as good as a full-blown fishing rod and tackle box, it's much easier to fit into the survival kit. Snares can be made from string, fishing line, rope, or wire. The wire is the best as it cuts into the animal's neck, cutting off circulation more effectively than other methods. An excellent wire to carry for a snare is a guitar string. These are about the right length, are strong enough, don't kink easily, and already have a loop at one end for making the snare. Means of constructing a shelter. Shelter in the wild can consist of almost anything that cuts the wind and helps reflect the heat from a fire back to you to provide warmth. The most common shelter is a lean-to made of branches. Another common shelter is a debris shelter, a framework that is just big enough to crawl into, much like a sleeping bag. Debris, sticks and leaves, from the forest floor is piled on the framework to cover it and provide insulation. A pile of debris even be put in the opening, creating a kind of door. While you will want to use what nature provides as much as possible in the construction of shelter, it is helpful to have a few tools to work with and some string or parachute cord, sometimes called 550 cord. This will make it much easier to build your shelter. Tools. Some basic tools make building shelters, snares, and traps in the wild much easier. The most important tool is a good knife. In addition, a wire saw is very useful, as well as a hatchet, a folding camp shovel, and a multi-tool. How many tools you carry will depend upon the size of your survival kit. Remember, though, that tools are metal and, therefore, heavy. Try and buy tools that will fulfill multiple purposes to keep your overall weight and bulk down. Make sure you only have what you will really use. Signaling devices. If you are stranded, injured, or lost in the wild, your best chances for survival are if someone will come looking for you. Always let someone know where you are going and when you expect to be back. If you don't come back as planned, they can raise the alarm and send out people to look for you. When that happens, you'll need a way to signal them. The 2 most common signaling devices used in survival kits are a metal mirror and a whistle. Metal mirrors can be used effectively to reflect sunlight for miles, even far enough to signal your position to a pilot in an aircraft. Either one will allow you to attract the attention of people looking for you.